Hi, my name's Rico, and I'm in Amsterdam.
So, Amsterdam was the first place abroad since we made the decision to travel the world. It's an amazing place with historical significance, a vibrant culture, and an attractive lifestyle. They say Amsterdam is for everyone, and I'd say that's pretty spot on. We spent about a month in Amsterdam and got to experience it in different ways. So I'll talk about some of the popular and not so popular things to do, as well as some of the interesting tidbits I picked up along the way. I think the first things that come to mind when people think of Amsterdam are the red light district, coffee shops, and the Anne Frank Museum. So I want to quickly address those before we move on. Filming isn't allowed in the red light district for obvious reasons, but keep in mind there's more than just brothels. There are museums, shops, and other attractions. Coffee shops sell weed, cafes sell coffee. As you know, marijuana is legal in the Netherlands. It's super easy to buy and pretty cheap. A joint can often cost you less than your average beer. The Anne Frank Museum is an extremely popular destination. If you're interested, book your tickets as early as possible, as they sell out weeks in advance. We weren't able to get tickets with over a month's notice. Like most cities, downtown, or the city center, is a great place to start and quickly get a feel for the vibe. Amsterdam is often called the Venice of the North, and here's where you'll find the famous canals, as well as most of the usual attractions. It's fun to wander around, or just sit and hang on the canal banks. There are a ton of museums, but we went to two. Our Lord in the Attic, a literal church in the attic of a house where people could safely worship during times of religious prohibition. A very interesting hidden gem. And the Van Gogh Museum, which gives you deep insight into Van Gogh's life and inspiration. It was quite moving, and by the end, many people were in tears. But I get it, museums aren't for everyone, and some of us want to minimize sensory overload. So what are some of the lesser known things to do? Well, you can rent a boat for a few hours and get lost in the canals. You'll see tourists and locals alike who seem to do it rather often as a super chill pastime. We got an electric boat that you can turn on remotely through an app, which was pretty cool. It's reasonably priced, and considering it can fit a few people, you can invite some friends and split the cost. Keep in mind that it doesn't come with a chauffeur or boat captain, so if you don't want to deal with maneuvering through the canals yourself, you can always do a boat tour instead. This sounded like fun for us, so we grabbed some snacks and some drinks and explored for about 2 hours. That might sound like quite a bit of time, but honestly, I'd recommend it for even longer. It felt like it wasn't enough to get the full experience. You can take a day trip to Schans, a town full of beautiful windmills. You can check out their museum, farms, or visit the shops where you can buy souvenirs and try the local cheeses and such. Although the windmill numbers have dwindled over the years, there are still plenty. But it makes you wonder what it looked like in the past, when there were hundreds. I actually crashed my drone while filming one, but that's a story for another time. You can also go to some of the nearby beaches, some of them nude if you're into that sort of thing. We went to Bloemendaal a couple of times for a morning swim and some breakfast afterwards. It's quite a long stretch of beach and super dog-friendly. The Netherlands is actually home to some of the longest and widest beaches in Europe, but they're on islands in the north and a bit harder to get to. Some interesting facts about Amsterdam are that it's home to one of the biggest pride festivals in the world, and it's quite unique in that it's held in the canals, so it doesn't have the usual floats you might expect, but boats that go down a specific route through the city center. It also has the 5th largest bike parking facility in the world. Keeping in line with seeing the city like a local, you can rent a bike and get around the way locals do. As you can imagine, bikes are everywhere, and the city has an extremely well thought out infrastructure with that in mind. Be mindful of the bike lanes, as their obstruction is dangerous and a common annoyance for the locals. The running joke is that they're read not as a designation, but stained from the blood of tourists. Speaking of infrastructure, there are a few interesting quirks you might notice, like small self-serve gas stations on the side of the road, and a beep-in, beep-out bus fare system that only charges you for the distance traveled. One thing that nobody mentions is that the food sucks. Sorry, not sorry. Whenever someone's recommended a city to me lately, it's been blah blah blah, great food. Amsterdam is not on that list. But I can say that Amsterdam is cool enough that you basically forgive it because of everything else that it has to offer. We also did a lot of day-to-day things, like grocery shopping and hanging out at the dog park. These simple yet authentic experiences, paired with the way we chose to explore the city, really let us get a sense of what it's like to live there. Considering all the moving around we did after we left Vegas, it was a welcome change of pace. Amsterdam was the 6th city that we visited in the span of 30 days. We had a great time and got to see a bunch of old friends. But that wasn't the only benefit. The Netherlands is in the Schengen Zone, so once you're in, you can travel freely between 27 countries without having to go through border control every time. So, where did we go to next? Belgium, home to some of the most well-preserved medieval cities in Europe. Hope to see you there.